Hey guys, it's me, Mario. Today, we're going to continue Vipero, the Snake Man. How you guys doing today? Hope you're doing well. Gotta get my glasses. And drink something. Yeah. Beast Quest, Vipero the Snake Man. Chapter 2, Thirst. Storms' hooves echoed on the cobbles as Tom and Elena rode into the little town. A hot breeze swirled sand down the street. The buildings were made from blocks of reddish stone, as if the town had grown up out of the desert. Every door was closed and the shutters were fastened across the windows. The street came to an end in a deserted marketplace. Tattered canvas sing flapped on the tattered canvas awnings flapped on the abandoned stalls. A few dried cabbage stalks were prowling about in the breeze. Even in the heat, Tom felt a chill of apprehension. Something wasn't right. The whole town's deserted. Elena said, gripping Tom's shoulder tightly. Where is everyone? I don't know. Tom turned in the saddle to take in all the houses that surrounded the square. Do you think Melville's beast could have driven everyone away? He climbed off Storm, his limbs stiff and aching from the long ride. Elena slid down after him. We ought to look for water, she said. Storm and Silver need to drink, and we'll have to take water into the desert with us. Tom pointed to a stone through at one's bleh. Can barely read today. Tom pointed to a stone trough at one side of the marketplace. It was shaded by a snarled, leafless tree. That must be where the townspeople water their animals. He led Storm over. Silver trotted ahead and let out a disappointed whine as he looked over the edge of the trough. It was completely dry. The sides were furred with green and and there were a few scraps of rubbish at the bottom. "There's no water at all," Elena said. Before Tom could reply, he heard the sound of a door opening. A voice called, "Hey, you there." Tom turned. A woman was poking her head out of an open door. She wore a loose brown robe and a brown cloth over her head, so he could only see her eyes and nose. "Are you mad?" "Standing out there in the heat?" she asked. "It'll kill you if you don't get inside." She held the door wider and beckoned. "Come on." Tom led the storm into the little shade cast by the tree and looped his reins around a branch. Silver slipped underneath the stallion's body and collapsed on the ground, his jaws gaping as he panted. Elena bent down to pat his head. "We won't be long, boy," she promised. Tom and Elena approached the woman in the doorway. "Do you know where we can get water?" Tom asked her. The woman stared at him. "Water? There isn't any water. The heat has dried up all our wells." "But that's impossible," Elena exclaimed. "I wish it were," the woman said. "But even here in the edge of the desert, we've never known heat like this." Melville, Tom told himself. This had to be the work of the evil wizard. Are you coming in or not?" the woman asked. "I can't bear to see the two of you suffering in the heat." She stood back to let Tom and Elena into the cool shade of the house. Inside, window shutters kept out most of the light and heat. Tom drew a deep breath of relief that they were protected from the glaring rays of the sun. The woman led them through another door and into a small room. In the dim light, Tom made out four or five people lying on the ground. They seemed exhausted by the heat and hardly looked up as Tom and Elena went in. Only one raised a hand in greeting. A boy was lying on a mattress at the far side of the room. He kept tossing and turning and letting out low moans of pain. His face was flushed with fever. Elena crossed the room and stooped down beside him to lay a hand on his forehead. On the ground in the middle of the group was a shallow bowl of water. A man got up, dipped a scrap of linen into the bowl, then put the scrap to his lips to suck the water out of it. Tom exchanged a glance with Elena as she returned to his side. These people must be desperate if this was the only way they could make their water last. "We've got to do something to help," Elena murmured. Tom knew his friend was right, but first he had to ask a favor. He put a hand on the woman's arm and drew her to one side. My friend and I have to go into the desert, he exclaimed quietly. Can you spare us any water? He felt guilty for asking when these people had so little. But the only way to help them was to seek out Melville's evil beast and defeat it. Although Tom knew he couldn't tell anyone here about his quest, the woman's expression hardened. Do we look like as if we have spare water to hand out to strangers? She asked sharply. I'm sorry, but I have to put my own family first. But we must, Elena began. My advice to you is to go home, the woman interrupted. We can't do that, Tom said. Their raised voices had attracted the attention of the other people in the room. They struggled to their feet. Suddenly Tom was surrounded by the men and women with angry faces and accusing eyes. One of the men curled his hands into clenched fists. They don't understand, Tom thought. And I can't explain. What am I going to do? That was chapter 2. Yeah. Chapter 2, Thirst. Make that right there. There we go. Well, that was chapter 2, Thirst. A little bit thirsty. Well, I hope you guys liked this chapter of Beast Quest. And I hope I will see you in the next video. And I hope you like, subscribe, and hit the bell if you're interested. Right. Bye.